Kevin Ginzburg Show at villageconnectionradio.com. Jim Savali, our station owner and engineer at the helm. And joining us today is ring announcer Scott Ceriti. And Scott is representing Pro Wrestling Magic. And who else do you represent?
I also represent Capital Wrestling out of Hoboken, New Jersey, Vicious Outcast Wrestling out of Shinston, West Virginia, and Unsanctioned Pro out of Columbus, Ohio.
And why are they unsanctioned?
It's a company bringing wrestling to an area that's never really been able to keep wrestling around for too long. So it's kind of just trying to get everything together to see some things that certain athletic commissions may not like too much.
Okay. So on a Saturday night when all four of those promotions are running simultaneously, who do we go see?
Oh,
I'm just messing with you.
dear God.
You don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that.
It's a loaded question.
That's right. We love indie wrestling on this show. We support indie wrestling. Later in the show, we're going to have Robert Saint, Lou Nova, Dragon Jr., Jack Sisko from New Evolution Pro, and our sponsors are SWF Wrestling. But we love to talk indie wrestling and urge people to support it. And for those who, lean towards WWE, and it's a whole different experience. Why should somebody come out to, let's say, a Pro Wrestling Magic show?
It's a much more personal experience. It's much more like a little close-knit family as opposed to just being a fan, buying a ticket, buying your merchandise, and getting out. It's you're buying a ticket, there are wrestlers hanging out, selling their merchandise, talking with people. There are fans that are there every show who'll bring you into the family, and you'll be hooked, guaranteed.
Yeah. Plus, as a parent, when you take your kid, they're going to meet the wrestlers.
Exactly.
They're going to take pictures, get autographs. It's much more personal than sitting 5 miles away at a WWE show.
Exactly, absolutely. And I've done both. I've been in the crowd of an independent wrestling show and a WWE show, and I would much rather be at the smaller independent show getting close with that core group that's just so passionate about that one thing, as opposed to people who just watch TV at the right time every week. You know what I mean? Like, WWE's working on a system where they're taking all this really good independent talent and stagnating them.
Yeah.
But when you go to places like Pro Wrestling Magic, for example, we used Keith Lee for a while, and we always were able to keep him in his own caliber. He's slightly elevated over the guys who have just started wrestling 2 months ago, but
right.
Conversely, he's still on the same level as the guys who have been here since day one. So there's that balance to it. WWE just doesn't have that balance anymore.
I think it's almost overwhelming. WWE has literally hundreds of wrestlers on God knows how many shows, and, guys just get lost in the shuffle.
Oh, absolutely.
Just totally lost. And you forget they're even, on the roster.
Absolutely.
When's the last time you saw Anderson and Gallows do anything worthwhile?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I honestly couldn't tell you. And I was having this conversation about the Revival, because there was a period where they were both injured, and I said, there's going to be nothing for them when they come back. And if they're on TV, I'll be very surprised. They've ended up being on TV pretty much every week, but they're not doing anything.
It seems to me WWE just wants to control the entire business worldwide, and they want to sign anybody that's halfway decent to lock them in.
Oh, they're absolutely threatened by just the sheer number of independent promotions using certain talent.
Well, I think what scared them, and I don't even know if scared's the right word because they're a billion-dollar corporation, but, Ring of Honor and New Japan selling out the Garden in 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
When WWE, at this point, doesn't sell it out, period.
No.
I mean, the few times I've gone to WWE at the Garden, it's not sold out. They have a healthy crowd.
Yeah.
But as a kid, the Garden was once a month on a Monday night, and it was almost always sold out with Bruno.
Yeah, you had to fight to get in.
I mean, it's a myth that Bruno sold out every show he was ever on, but
right.
At the same time, they drew much better with Bruno. They have maybe 3-4 shows a year at the Garden WWE.
Yeah.
So it is, in a sense, competition, and supposedly Cody and the Young Bucks and all these guys are going to have some spin-off promotion of their own. Yeah. I don't mean the one-shot all-in. I mean, they're talking...
All Elite Wrestling, I think they're going to call it.
And I wish them nothing but the best. My only concern when I watched All In, one, it was not cheap. It was not a cheap ticket. Two, they put themselves over like any other promoter, and I hope that they take it to the next level, have 401ks, pensions, benefits, if they get money behind them. Do the
absolutely.
right thing. Let's change the business finally.
Absolutely. Because there are a lot of shows going, and like I bring it up to people who have never watched independent wrestling before, but if you've never seen a Game Changer wrestling show, you're kind of missing out, because they use some of the best talent in the world, not just in the United States. And they were the first people to break Marco Stunt onto the scene, and every time I watch one of their shows that maybe doesn't rely so heavily on the death match, I'm always left trying to find out what the bad match was. I went to Lost in New York in Queens, the Joey Janela show that they had. There was not a bad match on that card, and the crowd was into it the entire time. And
so as an old school, jaded fan who's seen the best of the best, I watched Final Battle Friday night, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. From top to bottom, there wasn't a quote-unquote bad match, but there also wasn't a great match.
Right.
So, as an old school fan, the only thing that gets my blood going is when something's great, really great. Yeah. And there was nothing on Ring of Honor that touched Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson.
No, absolutely
there was nothing that touched when the American Wolves split up, and Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards wrestled. Those were tremendous wrestling matches. So just good, very good. It's fine, but I want to see great.
Yeah.
I want to see Okada, Kenny Omega. I want to see, wrestling elevated to an art.
Absolutely.
Even Nakamura and AJ Styles for New Japan was unbelievable.
That match was
unbelievable.
Stellar. That match was really
good. And that's few and far between, whether it's WWE or the Indies.
Oh, no,
to be
absolutely.
honest.
Absolutely.
But I love the Indies, and I support it, and for $20 or $15 or whatever the case may be, it's like the best bargain in live entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Short of maybe a minor league baseball game, which is even cheaper. But it's an unbelievable night of entertainment.
Yeah.
3 hours.
We actually, I was at a show last night for a company called Uncanny Attractions, and they ran out of a venue in Brooklyn called House of Yes, which is like a hybrid LGBTQ friendly bar as well as stage area and concert venue. And the crowd was mostly casual fans, not people who, live, breathe wrestling, or who go out of their way to see something that they read about on the internet. Just, oh, that sounds like it was cool, go about there. It was one of the most amazing shows I've ever been a part of. There was no room to breathe, and everybody was loud. Faces and heels still mattered. It was just such a perfect, moment. A venue that's never had wrestling before doing this well on it.
And since you bring that up, I find it interesting in 2018, we've had Sonny Kiss on the show, and I think it's great that the fans are not homophobic, because going back to the 70s when I started going to wrestling, inevitably, the Gorgeous George types, the Adrian Adonis, they were always the heel. Adrian Street, they were always the heel. And today, it's like the fans are like, this guy's awesome. And there's none of that homophobia that we used to have back in the day.
I know Sonny really well. When I first started doing training, Sonny was actually there as well. We were training at Gino Caruso's up in Lake Hiawatha. And I remember...
ECPW.
Yes, sir.
Yep, that's right.
And I remember being on certain shows with him and being very nervous that they weren't going to react properly to him, and that they might even react violently. But everywhere he goes, he just has so much charisma as soon as he's
And he's
out of that
very
curtain.
Public with his boyfriend, who's also a wrestler. I forget his name.
Killian McMurphy.
Yeah, and I think it's great that part of the business has changed, and people are much more accepting. And it's funny. The other side is when I was a kid, the foreign heels were always the big thing. Nikolai Volkov was my dear friend. I loved Ivan Koloff as a kid. Today you don't get as much of that, and maybe people are just too sensitive, too delicate, because that's just part of wrestling, the foreign heel thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even see that as xenophobia.
No, yeah, exactly. You know? It's one of those things where when you're least expecting it to happen, it kind of happens, it seems, in wrestling now. Like,
I mean, WWE convinced us that Canada were the bad guys.
Yeah.
Remember? I mean, you know, it just works. It just
did.
works.
And then they brought in people. Nakamura, perfect example. Nakamura was so over for so long.
Came in as a face.
Yeah. They didn't have anything for him, so he turned.
Yeah,
and
Tanaka, Fuji, Saito, they were always heels, because it was always... And you also have to understand that in the 70s, World War II wasn't that far removed.
Yeah.
You know, it was only, 25, 30 years prior.
Very
so
true.
It was pretty fresh on your mind. You know, the Japanese did dastardly things. And, you know, I don't see the whole... Oh, you know, that's xenophobic. That's just part of wrestling. Good guy, bad guy.
Another part of the whole issue is that more people are starting to get over based on what they can do versus what they say, which is why Becky Lynch comes out as a heel every Tuesday but doesn't get booed.
Yeah.
Because she was such a hard worker.
I'll tell you, though, as an old school fan, Johnny Valiant was a dear friend of mine, and he said to me, somebody walks down the aisle, in 30 seconds, you should know good cowboy, bad cowboy, good Indian, bad Indian. Yeah. When it's so blurry that you don't even know who to root for, sometimes it's hard to have an emotional investment in a match.
Absolutely.
Because I'll say to myself, I like Becky Lynch, I like Charlotte Flair, and I don't even, it's like, it's still good to have somebody to root for.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
That suspension of disbelief.
Exactly, and it's not somebody. It's not a company coming in trying to push the whole babyface thing, like, happening on all their shows. That's a very few and far between moment. And when it did happen, they did another heel turn. They know their way around doing it, but stuff on independent wrestling shows is so much more different because I'm a local indie wrestling company. I book Cody Rhodes to wrestle JT Dunn, for an example.
Yeah.
Neither one of those guys is going to get booed. Neither one of them, because they're so well respected that just everybody's... JT's going to have his fans, Cody's going to have his fans.
What's your honest opinion of Cody Rhodes?
I like Cody. I've dealt with Cody a couple times.
I don't mean as a person, I mean as a wrestler.
As a wrestler, yeah. I think WWE dropped the ball big time.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Because...
he's another guy that got lost in the shuffle, like mid-card oblivion.
Exactly.
And the guy's a star worldwide.
Exactly. And then he came on the indies and he showed us what he could actually do. And usually when people go back to the independent scene, that's kind of a moment for pause, like, wait a minute, maybe we were wrong about this person. But in reality, WWE has been wrong about a lot of these releases. You can see it. They brought back...
you have wrestling, quote-unquote, writers who don't know wrestling. I mean...
And then they fired Jimmy Jacobs, someone who could actually
Jimmy Jacobs is great. I love that guy in ROH.
He
I'm a big ROH mark.
Yeah, I love Ring of Honor. I started recently rediscovering, like, going back and going to the times when I was, like, too young to watch certain shows. So, I think recently I watched Best of the Best 3 from CZW, which is one of the best top-to-bottom junior heavyweight tournaments.
I'll tell you a funny CZW story. I was associate producer on The Wrestler, so I'm backstage at CZW's Cage of Death with Aronofsky, Mickey Rourke, other people from the production, and it was like a mass unit. It was insane. It was just everybody's covered in blood.
Oh, yeah.
It was like you at a hospital.
Yeah, they actually just ran Cage of Death last week at the 2300 Arena, and it got uncomfortable in a couple matches.
I said to Mickey Rourke, what did you think of this? And he says, quote, this is fucking great. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah. I got to admit, the whole thing with death matches is we understand, like, fans of death matches understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. We understand.
I love lowlife Louis Ramos. He's my buddy. I love that guy. I think he's as charismatic as any indie wrestler I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You're not going to mistake him for Billy Robinson.
No.
But the guy has so much charisma. He's so entertaining. And part of me, it's funny. It's like part of me loves death matches, and part of me is like, this is too much. And a team of psychiatrists would have a field day, like, why are they doing this to themselves?
It has to happen within reason, but there are certain things that just kind of click.
I brought Negro Butcher onto the wrestler.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
Yeah. I was actually at Warriors of Wrestling on Staten Island for one of the student tapings that they do, and when we got there, they were watching one of Matt Tremont's shows.
Yeah, I know Matt Tremont.
He runs down in South Jersey, and the match was Low Life Louis Ramos versus Devin Moore. I'm sitting there watching it, and all the students are turning around like, this is awesome, this is great. Like, I don't understand what's... They didn't do a thing for 12 minutes, and all the students were on the edge of their seats. And that's one of the arguments that I make for people when they're like, there's nothing to death matches. Like, you don't need to be trained, or you don't need to do this, that, or the other thing. If these two guys can go
guys
in
like
there,
Homicide worked with Louis. I mean, he's a trained wrestler. I mean, but there are, like, geeks who just mutilate themselves.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I mean,
I've seen it with my own eyes, yeah. There are guys out there who, for example, think a good counter to an Irish whip is a box cutter to the arm. We kind of tend to disassociate ourselves from them. Admittedly, it's more so less the fault of the wrestler and more so the fault of the person who's creating the stipulations.
Well, I'll take this to a different place. Tonight you have $1 billion corporation who expects their wrestlers to fall off of, through, into tables, ladders, and chairs. This is not healthy for the human body. And 20 years from now, when inevitably some of them will need surgeries wake up on a day like today where it's rainy, damp, and chilly, in pain from arthritis and everything else. I think it's a lot to expect somebody to fall off a giant ladder.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Especially when given how little freedom everybody has. Like, I'm sure if Finn Balor went out there and was like, hey, I was thinking of this cool finish where I do a frog splash off the top of the ladder, and Direct Creative says, no, don't do it. That's got to be stifling for somebody who goes out, calls maybe 10 minutes of a match for a 15-minute, knowing that the company's going to come in and pick and choose things, and then just being told flat out, no, change everything. That can't be good for people. That can't be.
I mean, I see guys, some of the legends sleep at my house. I mean, and they don't realize they're limping. They're constantly in pain. They've had hip replacements, shoulder replacements, everything you can imagine. And it's a big sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I don't know, as a promoter, fall off that table, through this table.
Yeah.
Fall off that ladder, through this, into that. It's a lot to expect.
I also feel like the build, like all the pay-per-views this year have had really weird build periods because they've been oversaturated with so many shows.
It's overkill. It's a meaningless blur.
Yeah, Survivor Series had almost no build because they were so focused on Evolution and Crown Jewel. They were so focused on that they lost focus on the show they should be focusing on. And it hurts to see because, like, if there was a way it could make sense. For example, Pro Wrestling Magic. We do a TLC match every December, or we have done, for the tag team championships. And it only happens because the storyline gets to such a point where there's no way to do this without getting a little violent.
Right. So
it makes sense there. And then you have the TLC build, which was just Ruby Riott being mean to Natalia for 3 weeks. It was high school bullying for 3 weeks, and now they have a match. And I don't... the build's important. That's one of the most important things, because if I'm not invested at the beginning of the story, why am I going to care by the time it reaches the boiling point? The Daniel Bryan stuff, that's some of the best stuff they're doing right now. He's great. I mean, letting him just go out and just, I know how to be a heel, just let me do it.
Yeah. Fantastic. I tell people that Daniel Bryan and Nigel McGuinness was the Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Dory Funk Jr., Jack Briscoe of the 2000s.
Absolutely.
And the guy is just an amazing athlete, and, it works. It works. Tell us a little about yourself. Who are some of the announcers that have influenced you? I grew up on Jimmy Lennon Sr.
I watched a lot of ECW, so that's sort of where I started noticing announcers more. And then as I was watching WWE, it was guys like Finkel and Okerlund was always a big one because I always wanted to interview people. Like that was always something that I was really interested in. And then when I came on to the indies, I kind of fell under the tutelage of MLJ from CZW, and he's helped me out a lot. When I started out, we were doing commentary together in Philadelphia once every 3 months, and now we kind of work cat-a-corner to each other almost every weekend. And Larry Legend is another one that's just leaps and bounds one of the best ring announcers I've ever seen in my life.
He's a tremendous announcer. My question with Larry is, at some point I think there's a line and he crosses it. Like I've seen him put guys in holds and do moves on guys.
Right.
And I don't know. To me, an announcer's an announcer.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
But that's old school. Maybe I'm wrong.
Exactly. There are certain situations where I feel like for story purposes, just something needs to happen, and it doesn't happen exclusive to locker room. Like there's something auxiliary that needs, like when security comes out and does a pull apart, that type of thing. I've seen Larry take Death Valley drivers and do a couple things, but
not everybody has to be part of the show.
That's true. That's also very true.
You know, sometimes the announcer should be the announcer, and the play-by-play guy should be the play-by-play guy, and you know, like I'm watching Final Battle the other night, and it worked with Carrie Silken because it's never been done before. You know, they're out there 15 years, and it was like dramatic.
Yeah.
You know, because Bully Ray's a bully, and Carrie's an older guy, and it worked. But if they had done it 17 times prior, it wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have worked. Yeah. So I'm more old school with like. Everybody has a role.
Keep everybody in their lane. No need to involve this person and this person. Yeah, I got you.
But as an announcer, Larry's great.
Yeah,
tremendous.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Every time I see him, it's just I'm in awe when I see Larry work because it just comes so naturally to him because he's so naturally charismatic. If you see him on the street, you just you gravitate toward him. I don't know what it is about him. He's just got that much charisma that he's just one of those like lights. You know what I mean?
There you go. And tell us about whatever's coming up. I know you work for multiple promotions.
Yeah. The 28th, I'm going to be doing commentary at ICW in Queens at Ultimate Fitness. It's going to be a really good show. I'm really excited.
Jack Sabbath is a buddy of mine. I know him forever.
Yeah, I went out to announce at the last show, and we had a real good time.
I'm going to try to make that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
What's the main event?
Main event, I believe, is going to be Danny DeMonto versus Amazing Red. DeMonto's last match ever.
Teddy Hart's on the show too?
Yeah.
Teddy Hart's great.
Teddy was someone that we were trying to book for a while at Magic, and then just things finally clicked and we were able to book him. And he was double shotting, so he went and wrestled Joey Janela for 45 minutes at GCW in Howell. Drove up to Richfield Park and then worked JT Dunn for another half hour, and it was just.
I saw Teddy Hart on a show with Davey Boy Smith Jr. I believe that's his name.
MLW. They do MLW. And I mean,
it was a tremendous match. Yeah, like a clinic.
You want to talk about guys WWE really dropped the ball on? Davey Boy Jr. is ridiculously good.
Yeah, and he's a big guy. Vince has a thing for big guys.
Yeah, so you would think that like everything was in the right place, but they keep releasing people, and like when they released Cassius and then brought him back, they knew they made a mistake there. When they released Sami Callihan, they don't know what to do with all these people. They sign too many people to have cohesive work available for everybody. You know, the Riddle thing, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. When Riddle came in and debuted at TakeOver, which wasn't supposed to happen. That was supposed to be taped for the next grouping of tapings. And he came in, and Cassius Ohno tried to get behind him, turn around, knee, cover, and that was it.
I totally disagree. I wanted to see a quality match between them, and I felt ripped off.
I did. I also
and
wanted
I felt
to
bad.
see,
And I felt bad for Cassius Ohno, who's basically lost in the shuffle too.
I wanted to see. I do want to see them have that 20-minute like just back and forth classic, but conversely, I was also of the mindset that, oh, this wasn't supposed to be on television anyway. So it's somebody that I know getting television time and going over and just going apeshit about it. It was so cool to see. Like, working the indies is so cool.
Is the glass half full or half empty? You saw it as half full. I'm like, that wasn't a match.
It depends. It all depends on perspective.
Yeah.
I've seen some dumb things.
Well,
happen in
I wanted
wrestling.
to put a gun to my head the time Daniel Bryan lost the belt to Sheamus in 30 seconds.
That was dumb.
Yeah.
That was absolutely dumb. And I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of Sheamus. Like, I understand he's a big dude. He's a great worker.
And he's Triple H's buddy.
And he's Triple H's buddy. And Bono's, too. But I've never really been super invested in any of his
He's a solid
matches.
wrestler. He's not Ric Flair or Terry Funk.
I feel like they put him with Cesaro just because they knew Cesaro could get him over.
Yeah.
Cause
I mean, they're a good team. I mean, they're credible. They're two big guys who can wrestle.
Yeah. But if they're going to keep teasing the Kings of Wrestling, they should just do the Kings of Wrestling. They've been doing that on the house shows now. So just call Cassius up. Yeah. Sheamus turns on Cesaro.
He's totally wasted. You forget he's even there.
It's so sad. Once they did the match with Lars Sullivan, that left a really bad taste in my mouth.
See, as a Ring of Honor fan, I perceive Chris Hero as a star.
Yeah.
I don't perceive him. You know, Vince has this six-pack of abs, fetish.
Yeah.
Where, he doesn't fit his vision of what a wrestler should look like today. I grew up on Dick Murdoch and Ray Stevens, tremendous wrestlers who had a beer belly. I could care less.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, I just want to see quality wrestling.
I've seen guys who weigh 130 pounds, wear jeans and T-shirts, and outwork guys who've been doing it for 10 years.
Of course.
It's all about the individual talent. It's got nothing to do with what they wear or who they were trained by. If something just clicks in their head and they get it, they go.
And a lot of these six-pack of abs guys, they're cookie cutter with no charisma. They can wrestle, they look great, but they just don't have the charisma.
Right, absolutely. It's kind of like how the full Nelson Slam has just become the default big guy finish that every up and down, easy. Nobody wants to do anything that makes them stand out. That's why I think them getting Keith Lee is so important, because Keith Lee's going to be that guy who goes flying around the ring and just goes absolutely crazy, and the fans aren't going to understand it at first, and then they're going to love it, and he'll never be a heel again.
Yeah, some of these guys, Keith Lee, Willie Mack, they're big guys and they move well, really well.
Ace Romero.
Oh yeah, Ace Romero. Yeah. Yeah, you would look at him and you would never imagine how fast this guy could move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I thought it was strange when Atsushi Onita came over last year to wrestle Tremont. They booked a whole show around it, and CZW brought back the aerial assault match, which was always like 5 to 6 light heavyweights doing their thing, and the turnbuckles had like a piece of flat wood on top of them so people can jump off and do their flips and stuff. Ace Romero won that match. And at first I was like, why? And then watching Ace more, I was like, I understand. I get it now.
Well, I am assuming we have a green room full of wrestlers waiting, so we'll wrap this up. Am I correct, Jim?
Can't say.
Like I said, I'm assuming. So plug any social media.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at SC Sariti. That's SARITI. You can also find my podcast at MCPod23 on Twitter. And Capital Wrestling in Hoboken on the 29th. January 5th is Unsanctioned, Capital City Chaos. January 19th is Pro Wrestling Magic. We finally decided on a theme.
He has all this memorized. I'm impressed.
The theme this year for Pro Wrestling Magic shows is Queen, and I'm just with Queen being everywhere, I'm really excited to see how that affects.
There you go.
We also have Brian Pillman Jr. coming in, and a couple other people that we're really excited about.
Awesome. And I just want to plug our sponsor, SWF Wrestling. And yours truly writes for ProWrestlingStories.com, JP Zarka. JP's out of England, and we lean more towards old school, so check us out. And Scott, just want to thank you. You are a walking encyclopedia.
I try.
I'm impressed. Sometimes I talk to indie guys, and it's like stultifying, so I'm impressed.
A lot of what I do in my spare time is watching wrestling, so I pick up some things.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not to shake it off, another night to make it all feel so exciting. A hot kiss could start a fire, whatever it is can make you high, and have a mess when it's inside. It's so inviting. Over and over, I want you again. I want to be closer. Change it all. Where we lie is where we fall. One more brick to make a wall. So much for finding out. Another night for you to cry. Another night to say goodbye. One more night is one more lie. It's so defining. Over and over, I want you again. I want to be closer.
We are back with the Evan Ginzburg Show at VillageConnectionRadio.com. We are joined by Robert Saint and Dragon Jr., and I have all of Dragon Jr.'s memorabilia right here in front of me. And welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
There you go. There you go. And tell us about New Evolution Pro Wrestling.
Well, New Evolution, we're just bringing it back. We happened in 2000, and we took a little hiatus. Wanted to figure out how things were going. I wanted to study a few things, so came back into it from Puerto Rico, made some friends out there, started bringing them in. Now we're starting it up again.
All right. And tell us a little about yourself. You're a wrestler as well. I saw you getting tossed around brutally by New Jack the other week.
Oh, that was a fun match. I actually enjoyed working with him. It was good. I've been wrestling for 8 years now. Basically, I come from Russia. My real name is Bogdan. It's hard to pronounce this thing. Mychek. So I came from Russia and everything, St. Petersburg. Came to the States, started learning some things. Of course, my English was thrown off, so lost my accent, pushed through here. Came across guys like Dragon Jr., Lou Nova and everything, traveled with Lou Nova. And I was like, I'm taking time off. I want to start my company again. That's it.
There you go. And Lou, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I've been in business for almost 20 years. I've been all over the world, Puerto Rico, Santo Domingo, States, and I'm born in Brooklyn.
So was I.
I know.
East Flatbush.
All right, Bushwick.
Yeah.
And I'm Puerto Rican, and I love to travel with the rest of our guys, and it's gonna be more.
I heard wrestling in Puerto Rico is a great experience, but the fans are rough. They're throwing everything imaginable at you.
It's really rough over there.
Yeah.
As we know, we have gone to Puerto Rico as it is, and it's different. It's
Took
rough.
abuse from the fans.
He took abuse from the fans, but it's great. The fans over there are very great. You know, they're very supportive to the wrestling business, and I love them all.
There you go. And Dragon Jr., tell us a little about yourself.
How y'all doing? I'm from Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I come from a family of wrestlers and wrestling friends. Actually, I was gone for about 13 years.
Why?
Hiatus because the business, I was not ready for the business at the time. Especially having a second generation name, it comes with a lot of stigma and a lot of people trying to talk to you down. And eventually, you fall in love and your aspects go different places. Then I had a child. Then things didn't go the way I planned it career-wise. I was going to college and trying to be a police officer, FBI. And eventually...
So I'd be an FBI officer with a mask,
Yeah, it would have been awesome.
They look down on that.
Yeah, I would have been the first because it does separate us, so we all don't look alike. But eventually I fell into this type of depression because of course I'm an older guy now, and then one day everything just fell over, and Lunova was the last guy I fought. 2004, 2005. So this guy don't believe in coincidences too. So then
Nah, I do.
And then he introduced me to Robert Saint, and then I've been here for the last 3 months. So basically everything is going as fast but slow at the same time. So hopefully, I do live up to coming back to the expectation for these guys too.
Who are some luchadors that have influenced you?
Oh my God. There's so many.
I grew up on Mil Mascaras. I saw Mil Mascaras wrestle Billy Graham at the Garden.
My thing is that in this profession, we can't talk too much about other wrestlers because then we'd be called marks. But
well, you can still have people that you're inspired by.
It's that there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many, even independent-wise. It's too many. It's just the love of the sport, the love of the entertainment. It's a real big thing for me, But one of my influences that I love to see wrestle was my dad's time. The wrestlers from his company, which was Julio Salvaje Cubano, my father himself, Victor El Dragon, the White Star, give him credit, Pedro Santiago, of course Lunova, what I was saying. But one of my top influences was it's funny, but it's not. But it's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Was my.
I've been going to wrestling since 1974. To this day, I say Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair was the greatest live match I've ever seen. Out of thousands and thousands of matches, they went 35 minutes at the Meadowlands. It was unbelievable. It was wrestling elevated to art.
Yeah.
Art.
Because these are wrestlers that in reality they don't see color. They just see the fans.
Yeah.
And they see what the fans want. So that's why in the independent circuit, you have a lot of that. And especially now, wrestling has changed where the independency is becoming a very powerful place.
Yes.
Where it's actually
the stepping stone to New Japan, WWE, everything else. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Lou, what do you consider some career highlights?
Career highlights. It's mostly more independent. The guys that I've seen and I want to wrestle with. Those are my careers, highlights.
So have you ever stepped in the ring and looking across is a childhood hero that you're wrestling? I know some guys have experienced that.
Actually, not yet, but hopefully soon.
Okay.
Give it time. So.
And where would you like to see your career go at this point?
At this time, I'm not sure, but whatever it takes me.
Okay. You sound very laid back.
I'm
You don't sound like a wrestler. You're very laid back.
I'm all laid back. I'm good today.
There you go. There you go. And Robert,
Yes.
okay, so I'm going to give you a hard question.
Uh-oh.
It's Saturday night. There's a half dozen promotions running. Why should we go to New Evolution?
Because we're bringing back things that people haven't seen in a while. We're bringing back the high flyers. We're bringing back international. We're bringing back storylines. You want to go to a show where you know what's happening, where kids are going to be entertained. And that's what we're really pushing for. We also want to push that we're a family. You don't see that in any type of wrestling. You see people talking shit, backstabbing, politics, all that stuff. When it comes to us, we all come together. We work it out. We get it done. That's how we go.
And you have a good crew. A lot of these guys I know, Simply Splendid. Bobby C. He's very colorful. Bobby's serious. He's in the gym every day. He looks great. He's not a kid. Rage also. Rage isn't a kid. He's in great shape.
And I'm very happy about Rage that his daughter pulled off the surgery went great. We're very happy about that.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, she's done my show in the past.
We're very supportive towards her, and especially what she went through, and also Rage and his family went through as well.
Yeah, not easy. Not easy.
That's why we're pushing for the February 9th show. It's going to be at the Elks Lodge again. We're doing it as a tribute to Lou Nova. We're all supporting each other's families and stuff.
So when you say a tribute to Lou Nova, what's that all about?
His mom passed away and everything. So
sorry to hear that. My mom passed away 2 years ago. It's brutal. Brutal, yeah.
And that's how we're all trying to be. We're all trying to be supportive towards one another. Because what he's going through, we're all going to be going through and down the line and stuff. So
I find that every human being I know who isn't a kid anymore, 40s, 50s, whatever, inevitably you become the parent to your parents because, they're older and
you take over.
It's a role reversal and all of a sudden you're taking care of them and it is not easy.
Diapers.
Not easy.
Not.
So, sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it into a big cancer event and everything, even though his mom fought and she got against it, but other things down the line took events into the situation. So that's our way of just being supportive towards him.
So you did a show a few months back and it got rave reviews and it drew a good crowd for a first time show.
Yeah.
I actually saw a few of the matches online and what would make an indie draw on a first time show? Is it the fact that you guys are out there hustling and promoting, unlike most indie wrestlers who are talking about Raw or SmackDown? I mean, I know Rage and Simply Splendid and Raw, but you guys are always out there promoting, which means something. I would book a whole crew of guys who actually promote,
Right.
because a lot of times these guys do. By the way, I'm wrestling in an hour. That's not promotion.
Of course.
Boom.
Right?
No, but that's the whole thing. It's what you said. You got to have a great team, and all my guys are supportive. But the whole point is, I had to pitch some idea on how we want this wrestling event, how we want it done, where do we see it happening in 10 years. That's why everyone was backing me up, and I said, I'm supportive towards you, just do the same thing towards me and my company, and that's how it turned out.
So since you mentioned 10 years, I don't think a lot of promoters have a long-term plan. It's like they throw everything out there, and then the next show there's the same core group of fans or less. It's like you have to build the storylines, build the wrestlers, make the wrestlers into stars. Because not everybody's Cody Rhodes or the Young Bucks. You have to build stars.
Yeah.
And so what's your philosophy of promoting?
It's like what I told you. After I ended at 2000, I did a whole lot of studying. I wanted to figure out how I was going to get this going, what were the storylines on, how to attract people to it, basic promotion, we get sponsorship. We got basically half of all these things coming our way right now. And now since we're working deals with both Memphis, Tennessee, Miami with Puerto Rico's Most Wanted with Manny Morales. We also got Puerto Rico now and South Carolina with Fuego Calderon. Those are all our brothers that are coming together to help us out with this.
Yeah, I think you need fresh talent on a show because I know in the New York area you see the same faces on 10 different promotions. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. So I'm kind of like, what I do as an old school fan who's jaded, I'm just like, I live in Queens. I'm like, the Elks Lodge is the closest. I'll go to the Elks Lodge. You're not motivated, to travel because it's the same guys.
Right.
So if you're bringing in talent from other areas, quality talent, name talent, somebody different for the fans to see, I think that's smart.
Yeah. It's like, it's all the younger talent. I've been scouting like all these people. I haven't been going like BCW, NYWC, Ace Championship Wrestling, IWA. I just been looking around. When we traveled to Puerto Rico, I had my eye on 8 other companies. I was like, okay, him, her. I'm bringing everything together.
There you go. So tell us about that was your first show, I believe, right? At the Elks Lodge? Tell us about the show.
It was good. It was a little hectic, off track a little bit, but I had a lot of guys coming in. I seen some fresh talent. I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to use you. Then I changed my mind last minute. I was like, look, you got your gear? Okay, get the hell in the locker room. Change. We'll get something started.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then everyone else, I had people backing me up. Nova was doing his own thing. Dragon was helping me out on the side. Everyone else was doing their own part.
See, I think promoters make indie wrestling overly complicated. I think you need 7 or 8 matches. You have a tag match, you have two high flyers, you have a brawl. You don't need 17 matches. It doesn't have to be, to me, you do a tight 2.5 hour show, maybe 3 hours. You don't go 4.5 hours. I mean, I've been to shows in New York, they're setting up the cage at midnight. You're numb, you've been there for 4 hours already. It's like, there's always the next show. Leave them wanting something more. Build to the next show. You don't need every single guy on the microphone, especially if they can't talk. Not everybody's a talker.
Yeah, right.
And here's another thing. The microphone has to work. We're doing a radio show. You have to be able to hear it. Guys get on a mic at an indie show. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, I don't know what this guy's saying. It's just noise.
Yeah.
It's noise.
That's what I was very cautious about too. I'm like, whoever touches the mic, I'm gonna jump over this guardrail. I'm gonna kill you.
And not everybody needs to touch the mic. You have an angle for the main event, maybe the co-feature, maybe the next show. You don't need 17 guys on the mic. It just makes the evening endless. And if somebody's a Kevin Owens who could talk, a Chris Jericho who could talk, you let him talk. But not everybody can talk.
Yeah, I had one guy, he came up to me, he was stumbling. I was like, dude, look, I'm sorry, I can't use you right now for your I want to come out, I want to talk. No, you're not going to do that. And then, people politic. I'm like, that's what we're not about. If you want to work for me, okay, but if you want to politic, get the hell out. There's a door right there.
See, it sounds like you've got it, because you've been around, you're not a kid. It's always, this is the guy's girlfriend who's working, the guy's brother, the guy's best friend. I mean, it's like, put guys who could actually work, who moved, who bring bodies into the seats. It's all about nepotism, cronyism. It doesn't work. That's why I would guesstimate, 95% of indies do not make money. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So you want to be that 5% that make money.
Of course.
So it's not about, putting your girlfriend in the ring or your, brother or brother-in-law, Put the best guys in the ring.
And I'm very happy at the last show. We were very supported by the police department and everything. One of our announcers was actually the police inspector.
Okay.
And he came through, he was like, oh, yeah. I was like, you want to be in the ring? He says, what? I was like, yeah, just get the hell in the ring. He's like, okay, fine. I was like,
wow. So another thing I always find interesting on indie shows, we have Dragon Jr.'s memorabilia here, is 8x10s. Jim, we picking these up?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I made sure they tagged it too,
So, how come more wrestlers on the indie circuit don't merchandise themselves? I mean, you see a guy like Rage, he's got every possible gimmick going. I think they all should do this. Make some money.
I'm waiting on the Rage toilet seat to come out next. That's the next thing I'm coming off.
Yeah.
No, it's because you got to learn how to do the marketing strategy. A lot of people just be like, oh, I can't just slap my face on a t-shirt and be like, yeah, here, buy it. It's like you just got to have a little
Well, what you do is you make 100 nice t-shirts and you move them one at a time, and then when you sell the 100 t-shirts, you make a new t-shirt.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Rage figured it out. Again, if you run regularly, these guys become stars in the eyes of the local fans. They become stars.
Yeah.
And people will buy your merchandise.
Of course.
And if you understand the concept of synergy, the website has the merchandise on the a store on the website. The T-shirt has the website. The 8x10s have the website. You see what I'm saying? Everything cross promotes everything else,
Exactly.
and it's like a circle that works. And I think the vast amount of indie guys don't quite get that concept, but it's there. It's there for you print up X amount of pictures and you move them one by one. Whatever you don't sell, you put in your bag and you sell it next time.
Exactly. Next show.
And I only charge the adults. The little kids, I give
Really?
it to them and I take the pictures.
You're too nice for this business. You're too nice and you're too quiet.
That's just for now.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
The reason too I do it like that too because I'm more fortunate than other people as well. So a lot of wrestlers they do have a hard life too. And they come and they perform. Everybody has a story in lucha. Everybody does their own thing.
You ever see the movie Bleak Street?
No.
Oh my God, Bleak Street is a beautifully made film about those Mexican minis who were murdered in Mexico. I don't know if you remember that a couple of years ago, but it's a tremendous film. It's called Bleak Street.
Okay.
I mean, they play that in art houses and museums. You gotta check it out.
I will.
Yeah. So you give away your pictures to kids.
That's a.
You're like the Mother Teresa of pro wrestling. I'm impressed.
When the thing is that the luchador it's a superhero.
Oh yeah.
You understand? It's possessed. The mass is possessed by something spiritual. So the mystery creates that, and the children, they're the innocent ones. So you give them the picture.
That's awesome.
The adults
I think it's great.
But right now, like I said, we just promoting what we have, and as a team, everybody has to sacrifice something. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing he can do, I can do it. He can do it. He does it. So that's how you make it work. Unfortunately, a lot of things has changed since I've been gone as well because I haven't been in the scene. I had to start watch wrestling for a long time too because my daughter was doing swanton bombs on people in daycare.
Yeah, or
Or chops.
So now she's 10. So now it's my time to I want to produce a product where all the people that I work with are going to be involved in the future. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking at the business aspect as it too. But I look at it as I'm a very humble person, Not very much people see me what I'm my what we call it a careta, the mask,
Right.
Loose on my face after 15 years he never saw my face.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then when he saw it, I had to slow down because the speed behind can, I have to.
Mil Mascaras never took the mask off in the shower, going out into the street after the match. Yeah.
But that's why sometimes you do that to people who everything's with time.
So what do you think of the criticisms of Mil Mascaras? They go, oh, he didn't like to sell. I'm like, well, he was better than 95% of these guys. He didn't have to.
Right.
I mean, I always thought he was great.
No, the thing is that it's like a wrestler friend of mine's too that he goes way back with me too. His name is Black Zemis. Wrestlers all have their own styles.
Yeah.
People like to critique what they do not understand.
Yeah.
Everybody wrestles different. Everybody has their own flavor. That's what makes a wrestler. You could tell him apart when he wrestles. You could tell him apart when he wrestles.
Sure.
You could tell me apart when I wrestle. You could tell he could wear a mask. He could change his whole moveset. And something that he does, that fan is gonna know. That's Lunova.
There you
So
go.
Mi Mascara was a guy who created a style.
He still wrestles. He's in his 70s.
Yeah.
He does 6-man tags. He comes in for like 2-3 minutes. He does his signature moves, but he still wrestles.
He
Yeah.
created a product. The thing is that lucha libre has been around since the 1800s. The
Wow.
1800s.
Wow.
So when you see
Tell us a little bit of history, because most people don't know.
Because when you see a lot of wrestlers here, right? American wrestlers, when we talk about American, we talk about Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, Irish, Italians. We talk about everybody in general like that. But that originated in Mexico.
In the
Then
1800s.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the late
I
1800s.
see, I know pro wrestling went
They-
back to Gotch and Hackenschmidt, like the
Maybe like-
early 1900s.
Yeah, it's like 1898.
Really? Wow.
And then the
Interesting.
mask came out because since people used to make mock Latinos, they all look the same. You know, racism played a role. So people say, okay, since we all look the same, let's all dress up and do different things with it.
Wow.
And it became that type of culture thing, and it also embodied the spiritual animals of our Native American ancestors. Not only Native Americans, pagans, etc., etc.
What do you think of Lucha Underground?
I think it's awesome too. I do like
They have
that.
some great matches.
I think,
Lieutenant.
and the thing is,
Yeah, great.
yeah, and the thing is that this is what happens too when you have people want to invest in a product. The indie circuits, that's what we always look for is people to invest. And you see something, help us invest, help us bring it up because, you know, WWE needs more competition. Don't have, you know, and it's not, you know, I don't really want to go to the WWE if I ever get the opportunity. You know, I'm not knocking it. Everybody's dreams to get there.
You'd be
but
better
if I
off in
could-
Lucha Underground.
yeah,
You'd be perfect.
Or Japan or something.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But that's what I say. But I also, like, I'm humble. I just want to make sure that I can obtain that too. So the people who are with me now, couldn't retire with something. You
I
know
look
what I'm
at
saying?
New Japan, like Wrestle Kingdom. To me, that's art.
Yeah.
It is.
Art. When you see Tanahashi and Ospreay and Kenny Omega, of course. I mean, these guys are just so great. It's like a whole different level. And
Jericho.
Jericho's pushing 50. The guy's still great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He reinvents himself too, but
Yeah.
he's still Jericho.
Yeah. Guy's
You know?
tremendous. Guy's tremendous.
Yeah.
So Lou, what's your role in New Evolution?
On your road, I don't know.
Obviously, he's more of like a scout agent and everything. Whoever he looks at, he basically tells me that's the guy who we should bring in. She's the one. She got very good talent. She comes from a great family. Like the people that we just promoted recently, the daughter of Violence, Leandra. Her father, Jose, is well known in Puerto Rico. She's coming out for our next show. Jason Stewart, he's very big in Puerto Rico, lives in Miami. He's coming down to wrestle for us. We got more talent on the way. You got probably Amazona. We got Roxy. We got New Kingdom. We got all different types of people we want to bring in.
I could go to an indie show and watch 14 matches in one night until I'm numb, and I could easily pick out the 2 or 3 or 4 guys that, you know, are really top notch. You know, a guy like Mike Orlando's going to make it.
Yeah,
He's a big guy who could wrestle, and he's got the drive and the determination.
Mm-hmm.
Sonny Kiss is going to make it.
Yeah, that's why I was happy I had
Yeah.
Sonny on the show. I talked to Sonny. I said, Sonny, I know you for a long time. When you first started, you want to wrestle? Okay, come on. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's certain guys that they have the charisma, they have the talent, they have the drive, and you know, short of, you know, Mike Orlando just got hurt badly, but he's back. You know, you're always one move away from possible career-ending.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
always
but
like that.
but those guys are gonna make it.
especially like what happened at my last show with Hush Holiday. He took a move wrong. He got a little stinger in his neck area, and they were like, "Why did you set it up?" I says, "I'm trying to break down a boundary, trying to prove that even though this one's Spanish, this one's English, this one don't know anything, you don't have to speak a word to actually know anything in the ring. You could pull off a great match." And they were like, "Wow." I was like, "Yeah, I wrestled with Hush a lot of times. Just because the guy can't talk to you, he does sign language. We pulled off a great match in New Jersey and stuff."
Back in the 70s, they had a deaf wrestler. I think his name was Salento Rodriguez. And you could do some good angles with that. I mean, you could do a good angle with anything if you really put your mind to it.
Yeah.
So
The one person who taught me about that was the late J.L. Chico. And we're actually going to be doing the tournament for him down the line. I'm setting everything up for him.
I knew him. He was a super nice guy.
Yeah,
He loved wrestling.
That's
guy.
why
Yeah.
we deserve to keep his name going through. And I'm
Yeah.
happy
He passed a few years ago.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
his family gave me the permission to run the Chico Cup. So I was like,
Awesome.
I'm very happy that they gave me that chance.
It's not. He's one of 7 guys who nobody ever said a bad word about in pro wrestling. Georgie M. Acropolis, him, and a handful of others. Usually in wrestling, like they either love you or hate you, myself included. But it's just the way the business is.
Yeah. But he taught us a lot down the line. Like, he was not only a father, he was a brother, he was a mentor, and he lived up to that name, the professor. And that's why I'm really happy that we're doing this for J.L. Chico and his family right now.
Yeah.
We even got trading cards being made at this point.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice when somebody devotes themselves to something. Maybe they didn't make a fortune at it. They didn't get the WWE, but to be loved, acknowledged. Another guy that everybody likes is Magic.
He's
just a nice guy. Like everybody, you know, I never hear anybody say a bad word about Magic. You know?
Oh no, Magic's the nicest guy in the world. Like he always like told me stuff when I was going into the business, and I told Magic, trust me, down the line I'm going to be a promoter. He says, "Are you sure?" I says, "Yeah, I really want to get into this."
You guys know Chris Michaels?
Chris Michaels.
Sir Christopher Michaels.
Yes.
Yeah,
he's another
super
one.
nice guy,
Nice.
and he's a legit guy. He's been in WWE. He wrestled Flair, Undertaker,
Also
everybody.
ECW, he was
ECW, yeah. But yeah, you know, usually that somebody's got heat with somebody, but these guys, it's just kind of like the exception.
Right.
So tell us about the next show.
The next show, of course, is going to be the charity event. All proceeds are basically going to go to Lou Nova and for his mom as well. And also to build it up, that's going to be the first show that we're going to bring out our very first belt. It's going to be the high impact title. It's going to be between Dragon Jr., Sean Static, and it's also going to be Gabriel Sky. That's going to be in the triple threat match.
Yeah, great match.
Yeah. Also, after that, we're going to try to see where we could do after that. Maybe start a bigger storyline with Puerto Rico because we got a lot of talent coming in that day.
And as a promoter, do you see going on, you know, Fight TV or somewhere where it's streamed for a worldwide audience at some point?
I'm definitely looking at starting off with Manhattan Broadcasting, and then we're going to push out from there and see what else we can do.
There you go. You guys have to. Have you ever met Monty and the Pharaoh? They do our wrestling show Thursdays 8:05.
I heard I was announced a lot on Monty and the Pharaoh, and I'm definitely going to look into see if we could get on that show.
Yeah, they would love you guys.
Yeah.
They would love you guys. And also Scott Cerriti. This guy's a walking encyclopedia. He's off camera right now. Ring announcer Scott Cerriti. He'd be a good guest as well. Monty and the Pharaoh. They've had on Larry Zbyszko, Lanny Poffo, Greg Valentine, Abdullah the Butcher, New Jack, Mustafa. I mean, it's like the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Yeah, Marty Jannetty, which didn't work out quite as well, but
yeah, that's one of the guys who gave me a good compliment. We wrestled. One of my favorite wrestlers was the Patriot. I wrestled him that day.
Yeah,
Marty Jannetty was like, "Oh, that was a good match, very old school and everything like that." Just hearing it from Marty Jannetty, it meant a lot because it was a tag team match.
the Rockers were amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. They was great a tag team as virtually anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird the way wrestling works, where like Shawn Michaels shot to the top and Marty didn't. Even the Valiant brothers. I mean, Jimmy Valiant was a bigger single star than Johnny Valiant.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way this business is when the team split up. But Jannetty's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
Great.
I just wish people gave him more credibility than what he's used to. You just hear all this bad stuff about him. It's like, come on. Look what the guy went through his whole life and everything like that. Give him at least more credit.
And sometimes you have to separate whatever personal stuff there is from the artist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the guy in the ring's an artist.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's what's going to matter. That's what people leave behind. They leave behind their art. So anyway, any social media you'd like to plug?
Only the New Evolution Wrestling like page. Just make sure you like that. Also, Shot of Wrestling. Make sure you like their like page as well. That's basically all I got. You guys?
Yeah, plug anything you want to plug.
I want to make sure that all wrestling fans support all your local indie wrestling professionals, because this is a sport and people don't like to admit it, but it is. And if you think it's not, always come on down and train with your independent wrestler, and we show you how fake it is for you guys.
You get a free chop from me.
All right, so since you mentioned training, everybody and his mother has a school. If you had a younger brother, younger niece, nephew, cousin, whatever, breaking into the business, who would you let train them?
Myself.
Homicide's the real deal.
No,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know Homicide's the man too. Yeah, I know Homicide for years ago too. I trained with him once or twice. back in the days. Yeah,
Johnny
yeah.
Rods is the real deal.
If I can get people to train that I know that has helped me right now, because I'm still breaking back into the game, learning the psychology all over again. You know, I'm not an encyclopedia yet like Scott over there. But if the guys who do train me, that have seen things change in style and things of that nature, is Black Zemis. He's one of my trainers that I train with every Sunday. And also Frank Maldonado, aka Sean Static too.
Okay.
And I train at the roughest ring in the world to take a bump. So when you go to another ring, you don't feel the bump.
Okay.
It's at Bronx Wrestling Federation.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
With Mr. Bronco International.
When Bronco walks down the street, you go, that guy's a wrestler. there's like no confusion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if people are in New York City and they want to go train, that's the closest ring you can. If not, you can go to Jersey, to Gino Caruso's spot, right?
Go to
And
Gino
then
Caruso.
Pennsylvania, Allentown, the Samu gym over there.
You got Earl Cooter, FTW school.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Long Island,
And then of course Shane Ace, who was Shane. I trained him years ago too.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a nice spot that you can go to. Just like I said, just every wrestler out there, I say, if you want this art to survive, leave the politics at home. Come do the job. If you don't want to wrestle, fine. Nobody's gonna hold you against that. You do you. It's your shop. You don't want to wrestle, you don't wrestle. Leave the politics at home, and just come and enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the fans. Enjoy the, make sure you have people to say great things about the show. Winning and losing doesn't count in the match. It's the fans that count. If the fans are cheering, then we winning.
All right, I'm going to do something spontaneously, Jim. I'm going to put Scott, he's off camera, but I'm going to let him talk.
Oh boy.
Okay, so there's 137 different promotions out there. Who do you see as the stars of tomorrow? Again, without getting into these guys are my buddies and these guys are in my promotion. Who do you see like really making it? Like I mentioned Mike Orlando and Sonny Kiss. Any of you guys, what do you think?
Well, off the bat, I had to say Sonny Kiss off the bat. Next person. You got so many. You got Mike Law. He's a good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Mike Law. He's been on my show. He's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Him. Yeah, he's definitely.
It's not the
one.
biggest guy in the world, but Rey Mysterio made it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have to be the
Yeah.
biggest guy. You could have the biggest heart. And
Sure,
that'll
yeah,
actually
he's
have you
great,
run over
yeah.
in the ring. So, other people, what do you guys think? 'Cause
There's so many out there coming up.
Yeah.
But who do you see actually make? You see, to me, a total package like a Ricky Steamboat is few and far between. Like somebody who has a great look, charisma, can wrestle, can brawl, can fly, whatever. It's rare to find it, and the right gimmick.
Azrael's actually another person that he should be in the WWE.
But
Yeah.
Yeah,
WWE has a lot of ageism, and he's not a kid.
Yeah,
There's a
right.
lot of ageism in WWE. Yeah, but he's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say guys like Kobe Durst out of Canada, he's definitely going to be on the fast track real soon.
Okay.
Real soon. And all the guys from Ohio that live out there with Sammy Callahan and Dave Chris, the guys like Trey Miguel and the Rascals and Myron Reed.
So from my perspective, as somebody who's involved with this and follows it closely, some of these names I've never heard before. So these guys have to promote themselves.
Yeah.
They have to relentless. Mike Orlando is always promoting himself. You have to be out there for people. You have to create that buzz. And some of these names I've never heard. I mean, I trust your taste in wrestling, but I'm just saying.
No, the Rascals just debuted on Impact not too long ago.
Okay.
And Ace Austin just debuted for MLW, which is really cool.
Okay.
Then
Yeah,
another
MLW
person
is a quality promotion.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Who else? I'm trying to figure
So
out.
many out there.
Yeah, I already lost the person's name already, just like that. Okay, so next, who else did you guys see?
I seen this guy wrestle for the Break Combination Wrestling, that company.
Mm.
But he had a gimmick like he's like a snake or a cobra or something like that.
Could be a
Ophidian?
Ophidian.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
definitely.
Afidi, he's from
Definitely.
Chikara.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
JT Dunn is actually a good guy. He has a lot of.
Oh,
good
yeah,
potential.
yeah.
So actually, yeah, because I didn't know his name. So if he's listening, I wanna
Yeah.
have a match and train and do what we gotta do.
You know, as a as a fan, I'm always happy when I see these guys actually make it.
Yeah.
Like, wow, there's Homicide on TNA, on Impact, you know, because I knew him back in the Doghouse days, you know. And there's Low-Key, you know, wrestling for New Japan or whatever. It's like, you know, you take pride in, you know, your friends and local guys making it. And it's always, it's like anything else. It's like music or film or whatever. The odds are against it, but certain guys break through.
Yeah, these are people that we've been around. Even one of my tag team partners was Bandito Jr.
Oh, yeah.
And he's in the WWE right now. He's a referee for the what is it, NXT.
NXT.
You know, his father too. You know, I even fought his father too for heavyweight.
I saw Bandito Jr. 10 years ago out in Jersey.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
these guys have been around. They paid their dues.
And
Yeah.
the thing is that one of the things too that these gyms, these little gyms like that, some people don't have no place to go, right? And a lot of these promoters make this home for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Even Homicide, you know, he thanks Bandito for the opportunity of being able to practice when there was no other place to practice.
Yeah.
You know, and
Like Bobby Lombardi
Yeah.
at the Doghouse. This guy,
yeah.
I think he saved people's lives. You know, it was like a place
It did.
keep kids off the street.
Yeah,
You know,
and
yeah.
big shout out to Lathan as well. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Lathan's done my shows 20 times.
Yeah, I trained with him once or twice
Yeah.
because I'm actually from Pedro Santiago's gym in
Right.
Ginzburg,
Right.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So you know, and I've trained with Homicide too. So these are very humble people too.
Homicide's an artist.
Yeah.
That guy's as good as anybody.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's a
Can have a
legend
good
in-
match
he's-
with anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a legend in his world too. You know, so that's like I say, it's to be part of that.
I'd rather see Homicide than 95% of the guys in
Yeah,
WWE.
Of course.
Seriously.
But the thing is, the politics too. You know, the being little, being Latino, being this, that. You know, it holds people back too. That's why the Lucha Underground has taken off so hard because it's breaking. You have small people fighting big guys. You have transgender people fighting. You have flamboyant gay guys fighting. You have a guy who doesn't move with his crotch. You know, so this is the.
You know, speaking of that, yeah, I'm an old school fan, and the Joey Ryan shtick does not bother me at all. I kind of look at it like performance art. Like, you know, it doesn't bother me, but I could see like a Jim Cornette's head exploding. Like, I understand like why he wouldn't like it, but to me, it's like it's just stupid and whatever. You know.
It is stupid, but this is what the fans want.
Yeah. and
Well,
I-
it wasn't even his spot.
But my thing is, if it doesn't bother legends like Jushin Thunder Liger when he did it to Liger and stuff, hey, if it doesn't bother this guy, who cares what you think now?
My-
It matters on what we think as a fan base.
My
That's
whole
all.
thing with that though is just the little kids. That's just my thing.
The fans.
The fans, the little kids. Like I respect the guy and everything. I wouldn't mind, you know, wrestling or probably grabbing his crotch in a match because it would be
I
awesome.
wouldn't.
Because you know who cares at the end of the day. But I just the little kid thing. I think is too much.
Okay.
That's
If a-
just me.
if a
Well,
little
to
kid
me,
was-
it's not credible. Yeah, but neither was Hulk Hogan getting up like Superman or the Undertaker getting up like Superman. You know, yeah. There's always that suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to
It's
have
awesome.
at least 20% of people that ain't going to approve of half the stuff that is going on nowadays. So.
It's the same as any visual medium. You got to keep the
I
suspension
think you always have
alive.
to have the controversy involved in
Mhm.
wrestling. You
Also
know?
a balance too.
Yeah, because that was the thing I was nervous about with this show when I had Ariel Nix wrestling Sonny. Because they were against the athletic commissioner going having a guy versus a girl. But I'm like, look, see it from this point of view and everything.
It's not that unusual in 2018, you know.
But it was like after the whole thing that I think with Chris Dickerson throwing Kimberly into like a turnbuckle or something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
They were getting very strict on a lot of things. So I'm like, come on. It's,
You don't want to see anybody get hurt.
No.
It's my sister's like 5 feet tall. You throw a punch at her, you're gonna miss. She's gonna hit you.
Hmm.
And she may drop you.
Sure,
She's just 5 feet tall.
sure.
So, you know, that's why
I was just watching Angela Mao. You know her? Angela Mao, old school kung fu from the 70s. Golden Harvest. That was Bruce Lee's sister in Enter the Dragon. This guy's kicking ass. It's like, you know, and she's little, yeah?
All
Yeah.
I thought was Cynthia Rothrock. You know?
Yeah, that's 10 years later. Yeah. Cynthia Roth, she's amazing also. Yeah. Anyway, guys, we got to wrap it up. Any other plugs?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Scott, any plugs? You're off camera. Feel free.
Nah, I think we're all good.
Just make sure you come down February 9th to the Elks Lodge. That's going to be the tribute concert for Lou Nova's mother, and we hope to see you soon.
And that's the R or M train to Grand Avenue, I believe?
Yes, sir.
There you go. I've been there 400 times over the years. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Best of luck with New Evolution.
Thank you.
There you go. And since we're doing plugs, we still on, Jim? Let me just quickly tell people that 350 Days, starring superstar Billy Graham, Bret Hart, Greg Valentine, etc., so on. We're looking for early April worldwide release. We'll have more details as they come out. Yours truly, the associate producer. So look for 350 Days. And thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, with that,
It's like the more you break me.
joined by one of our regular guests, favorite guests, poet John Winnell, who is also an arts aficionado. And this may be your last appearance for the year here. So tell us some of the highlights of some of the movies, concerts, theater that you've seen in 2018.
Wow. There's a film actually that I just saw that's really remarkable. It's a Lebanese film, and actually I met the filmmaker and her husband, who was producer slash musician, called Capernaum. It's probably been nominated, shortlisted for the Academy Award for foreign film. It's an extraordinary sign of the times, dealing with the immigrant problem, and primarily with children, displaced people, living in an environment that most people are completely clueless how awful their conditions are, and yet they manage to survive and to remind us of their humanity, which in turn reminds us of our humanity. It evokes other films that have been done over the years, but as I said to the filmmaker, truth is truth is truth. It doesn't matter. I mean, what's true is always going to be true, unfortunately. So if it raises the awareness, which is going to show in Lebanon and have a forum, a political forum, perhaps make changes on the conditions. I know that there's a problem all over the world with this, primarily due to a lot of the wars that have been going on and just how awful conditions are in other countries. Unfortunately, we sometimes forget in this luxurious America that we live in. Not that everybody lives in luxury. There's a lot of poverty in America.
Most poets do, I hear.
Well, there's a lot of poverty in America too, unfortunately. But we can't forget the humanity that there are people that suffer and that are less fortunate than we are, and we can't forget them and try to do something to make their lives a little easier. Without impinging on our own lives. I guess there was a time where America, certainly the Marshall Plan, going back to the Second World War, where we really invested time, effort, money, food, etc. And we're getting away, the world seems to be getting away from that. So, people, I think the holidays are a time of reflection and to maybe think about people that aren't necessarily as comfortable.
Yeah, the screen behind you says "Joy to the World." The world is not just America.
Well, America is only America. Is made up of the world. At least it used to be. And it was we really opened our doors. Thus, the plaque on the Statue of Liberty. But I'll veer away from politics. So another stunning thing that I saw, and I think it's on Netflix now, and Jim will like this, is I saw Springsteen on Broadway, which was an exceptional experience. Now I think it's on Netflix.
I believe it debuts the 16th, which is
today.
Today, yeah.
So it's available, I checked. So it's about 2.5 hours or 2:40, something like that. And he's an amazing storyteller. There's a reason why he has gotten all the awards, Grammys, Oscars, you name it. It's a really...
his music was the theme from The Wrestler.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty exceptional...
Everything always goes back to wrestling. That's the way it works.
We seem to forget. He's really an extraordinary performer, musician, storyteller.
So let me ask you, do you consider songwriters like a Smokey Robinson, a Marvin Gaye, a Stevie Wonder, do you consider them poets?
Not in the traditional sense, but I guess it's certainly... I mean, Bob Dylan won the Nobel Prize of Literature, so there's something to be said.
I've heard people describe Smokey Robinson as America's greatest poet.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't really comment on that. I'm not as well versed. I don't know if I agree. I mean,
Tracks of My Tears, I second that emotion. My Girl.
I think Emily Dickinson is America's greatest poet, but
But she never wrote My Girl.
And I think Bob Dylan is a better songwriter than pretty much anybody in the latter half of the 20th century. Nobody else wrote Mr. Tambourine Man, which is pretty spectacular. Not to take anything away from those other great artists. Another great performance that I was able to see was Elton John, who's doing, I guess, a 2-year or a 3-year tour of the world saying farewell.
He's going to say farewell 27 times before he goes.
Well, I was lucky enough, and who knows if he'll come back, probably still to do a concert or not. I mean, he's not, people perform in their 80s, right?
Bobby Rush.
All right. And I think Barry Harris and a few other people are still out there. But to see Elton, if you're lucky enough to get tickets, it's certainly, I found it very exciting, and Elton is not tarnished after all these years, so he really still means something.
Yeah, every once in a while you get somebody who's so diminished but living off a name, and it's like at some point it becomes almost like a money grab. So that's not Elton. Elton still got it.
Who did I see? I saw Robert Plant. I don't remember. I know it was in the summer, and then I saw it earlier. I was so impressed. I'd never seen him. And he's still so great. Still developing as a musician, as a performer, very, very modest. When I saw him at the Beacon, which I preferred better than the Jones Beach, the Forest Hills, I was really impressed. It was fantastic. He still can sing, he still can strut his stuff, and he, was kind of even poking fun at himself for that image of the rock god kind of a thing. What other films? I don't know. There's so much. Another stage, I think I saw Mark Rylance. I saw something that he had done that his wife had written for him, which was an account of one of these English mad kings, which was really wonderful.
And you saw the one-man comedy show on Broadway.
Oh, Mike Birbiglia. That was worth seeing. It was very entertaining. He's a real personable guy. That's worth seeing. It's a big house, so tickets are probably not that hard to come by. Yeah, that was fun. I saw a film the other day that was also amazing. I guess it was 52, a Japanese film by Yasujiro Ozu, which was a quiet film about marriage. And the wife seems very frivolous and takes her husband for granted. And in the end, she has kind of an understanding, and it's really quite exceptional. He ends up getting a position in another country, and then she realizes the value of what she's taken for granted. It's very powerful.
So at this time of the year, you get the obits where you see like 25 of your favorite performers have died during the year, and it always saddens me. And at this time of the year, you also get what were the best films, what were the worst films, and on every top 10 list, I see Mr. Rogers' Would You Be My Neighbor? What did you think of that film?
Pretty exceptional. I didn't really know much about Mr. Rogers.
Me
I
neither.
didn't really watch the show.
Me neither.
But I found him a really gracious and larger-than-life person who really did extraordinary things for children in America. For handicapped kids, just for less fortunate kids. I think he trained in the ministry, and he's just a good, solid guy.
Yeah.
It's a very warm film.
The movie's very moving.
Yeah, that'll probably be nominated. I don't know if it'll win. I mean, I saw a film that's pretty harrowing. That I thought a documentary, 4 interviews of women that had lived through the Holocaust, called Four Sisters, I think, which was one story was more harrowing than the next. It's almost too frightening to even talk about. You know, we forget, or the world seems to forget what people suffered through. And, you know, I think all the more reason, if that's what the holidays are about, understanding, you know, compassion. I mean, I'm not Christian, but certainly that should be a theme. The beauty of forgiveness and charity to our fellow man and woman, you know, and Munchkin.
As a Scorpio, I am not great with forgiveness. Either you're on my good list or my bad list. So how does somebody develop more forgiveness?
I don't know. That's all personal. You know, everything is personal. Everything is a process. I think you sometimes have to forgive yourself before you can forgive others.
They say you're letting somebody live in your head rent-free when you stay angry at somebody. But
well, that's true. I mean, you know, what's the point? Life is very short, and most things, when you get time and perspective and objectivity, they never seem to be as awful. I mean, unless they really are awful. And then, you know, it takes a special person to come to an understanding. I mean, but it's liberating. You have to let those ghosts free if it's possible. You know, we all have our moments.
Yeah, I'm kind of like I like you or I don't. It's like one extreme or the other.
Well, I think if you focus on yourself and what's important to you and your own development, then these other things kind of fade away. They lose their importance. You know, if you paint, or, you know, in my sense, I try to write as much as I can. And maybe, and actually I've been getting back into photography, and I'm going to try to do something with that. I'm going to try to combine the two, the language and the visual images, because I think they complement each other. But that's for me. I mean, if you express yourself or develop something, that's the most important thing, because life is very short after all.
That's right. If you start doing the math, we're all more than half cooked in this room. So that's right. That's right. So if you had one thing to say to the people out there this holiday season, regardless of religion, what message would you give as a poet?
Be good to each other. Overlook the small things. Shrug things off and stay focused on what's important.
What about Jim Savalio, or a station owner? What message would you like to give out for the holiday season, regardless of religion?
I just think that I hope everyone finds a couple of days of peace and focus on yourselves and your own homes and your own families, and just let the world be for a couple of days. That's what I hope.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost like the Vietnam War days. I mean, America's so divided. I mean, divided. You know, it's not a happy time in this country.
Yeah, that's been going on. I mean, the 60s was an expression, and it seems to things seem to be boiling over all over the world right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not going to Paris anytime soon.
Well, that'll simmer down, but it's just the tip of what's going on. I mean, it's strange. You have to find your own peace. It's not possible to. Nobody can solve it all. It's just, you know, not possible. You have to. Maybe that's the thing, to just be thankful for what you have, the little things. There's not much we can do about anything else.
I'm thankful for Village Connection Radio
there we
and
go.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Even though Mike Monty didn't like the the documentary on Mr. Rogers. Yeah. So anyway, anything you like to plug? Because we're gonna have a live poetry set in just a few minutes. That's good for the holiday season. Some poetry to.
Yeah, and I'll have to, some interesting things. Something that I've worked on that I wrote a while ago that I tried to update, but it's still timeless. Somebody said once that there's only 3 or 4 stories that seem to be told: leaving home, and the return, and a relationship between, couples. But I think most films, books, anything are about either one of the other, returning or leaving home.
The films I watch is, you killed my teacher, you killed my son, you killed my wife, you killed my husband, now I'm going to kill you. Because I watch like kung fu movies, blaxploitation
That's
films.
kind of an exaggeration.
I'm joking. But boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back.
That's the other story. That's the other, which, after all, the species we got to continue on, right? Nothing wrong with that.
That's right. So you want to plug your book or anything?
Yeah, why not? And then we're trying to, get some other stuff out. Yeah, but it's called Poems for Everyday People. And I'm going to actually read something from that too. And if you like that or other pieces, you can contact me, JONWINELL @yahoo.com or at Facebook. And that's, we're always working on the next project.
Because JON is cooler than JOHN. That's why.
I guess so. It's actually short for something else.
Your mom knew that. I'm joking. Anyway, when we come back in just a moment, we're going to have a live poetry set from John Winnell, which will bring joy to the world and peace on earth and cure all of our ills in a 10-minute set. There you go.
Wow.
Got me good in a hope that I just can't diffuse, but I know the tricks up your sleeve. Cause you and I used to sing just to pass by the time, and I can't let go without a partial thought to where our song may flow. Some ring away, but the echo of yours seem to stay. And lately when I listen close, what I hear may be fake. See, you be real now, and I'll be honest, that what we've got here is truly harmonic. And I can search just to hear the same sound play, but why would I when you're standing here right in front of me? Truly harmonic. You've got me good. It's a concept I just can't refuse, but you had to see through what seemed without flaw. So you may say that this anthem of ours wrong away. Maybe it's true. So when this sound leaves my ear, I can't help but to sing it again. Hope that if I sing it out, maybe you'll comprehend. I've been around now, and all is silent. What we've got here is truly harmonic.
eye out there, and I'm going to read some of these poems, some older and some new ones, and one from the book. And this first one is called Wolves in the City. Before winter's twilight, shrouded in patches where silence waits, a pack of gray wolves leave their hidden thicket to feast upon the forest fallen moments before the moon rises, darting between fir trees, sniffing the air for the promise of snow. There's uncertainty in each glance as a chill has covered the city. Each breath, a cloud of white crystals, is quickly ingested by the night. Gloomy notions are captive in each subway rider, fueled by warnings of words in red. Wolves are seen in shadows, eyes blazing as Pluto's beacons. The woods claimed by fire freed these now homeless packs that seek shelter in tunnels and abandoned factories. Those blood-burnt eyes staring from that darkened alley thirst for more than friendship. The light of the ages. There's quiet in the apartment, except for ancient music praising the mordant sun. Its light stings and leaves radiant shadows on pale concrete walkways. Yesterday we danced to strident music, gently caressing as suggestions led to laughter and the solemn loss of time. You held me to my promises, dismissed words as floating birds returning, only to catch the morning light. I cupped your face in the shadow of a doorway. The rain was still sifting through the streets. That's all I remember, as light streaks across the feathers of a bird returning to its nest. And I wrote this piece a number of years ago. It's a little section from the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey. Ulysses is kind of returning home, never-ending returning from the Trojan War, a hero, and they shipwrecked on this one island where the Cyclops turns out to be Neptune's son, who's keeps the lambs, but he's pretty furious and feasts on bodies of Ulysses' men. And eventually Ulysses blinds the Cyclops to get away. Meanwhile, Penelope, who is his wife, is waiting for him, unbeknownst when he'll return. And there are suitors who want to woo her away from Ulysses, but she's faithful. So it's in 3 parts. Penelope's plea. Atop cold stone prison floors, mirrors to a madness of power, deference deflects distemper and sadness. Behind the sliding steel and glass barriers of strangled time, I lie upon an afternoon of mysteries. Bee-threaded veils obscure my blemished face, wet with tears and laughter, faithful as a birthmark, to await returning warriors with tales woven from the eyes of worms. Odysseus on the island of the Cyclops. To travel this lonely sea, haunted by flames, walk infected streets wary of nightfall with drunks and addicts who share shadows with vermin. Each inch an awakening unrealized dream, no heroes welcome, nor the cool scent of lavender doused flesh. invisible to matter's turned wheel, the greatest of nobodies. Approaching geometry's endless array of corners, measuring time in arcs and cosines, the tangents of each precipice, the quickest route between points, a thoughtless sea pulverizing rocks into sand. How I came upon this island, birthed from an ocean of razors, tossed into a misfit's salted palm and ass and lion's skin. I live amongst the dead. Perhaps this is Zeus's revenge for once I swung a mighty sword and shed rivers of blood, the arousal of battle still within my nostrils. I wake unto a broiling sun while suitors lay in a broken archway to win my woe-begotten wife with ambition. A shadow plucked from a river of souls, a flicker of candles' flame ensnaring the air with the soured residues of nothing. I wait, covered in sand, a refugee from Polyphemus and Neptune, his lofty father, who sought revenge upon my now tainted soul. The former I blinded to prevent his perverse restlessness, swallowing everything in his path, no room for competition or charity, a gluttonous, unfulfilled giant, reducing men to bones. In the cave, in the dread of daylight, I watched you separate brave men from the sheaths that beheld their spirits. Aroused by the rotting scent of flesh, you licked your fingers, cursing the night with ecstasy and semen. I waited till shadows were beckoned on the crags and crept as a flame, spear in hand, cloaked in ram's skin, as you breathed quietly into the befouled stench. It was there that I once again took the soldier's mantle and tore thousands of grains of light from your tumultuous dreams, blurring them as a mischievous moon drowning in the sea. The howls of midnight frightened even the ravens, who'd stopped dancing upon the victim's bones as you called me an assassin, pledging for my misery. Tossed from island to island, a crazed beggar who once wore a lion's pelt, I await return to gaze upon tended gardens and smell the scent of my wife's tears. How much time? This is based on a Borges story that heaven is a library filled with books, giant library. It goes like this: a sea of unopened books. Heaven is a giant library filled with every book ever written, the glory of numbers and names, tales shrouded with the scent of paper, the weariness of the world sought and forgotten in each turned page, transfused letters, disconnected phrases, questions with a multitude of answers, pondered in joyous reflection as the dead sleep upon the living. Darkness descends as a slab of lead, non-porous, allowing no light to enter or to exit or enter, to be recused of the ecstasy of words, where pages are sealed as a sarcophagus, is worse than death by 1,000 cuts, or the continual sting from a nest of wasps. Oh, to drink the ink of night, trees devoid of leaves, sleeping through the dark curl of winter, silent as a furrowed field at midnight. Let's see, I'll just read. Not sure which one. I could read this. Came as a dream. And then I'll end with one from the book. It's called The Sphinx Smokes a Pipe. Lights flicker on the horizon line as dawn is broken and evenings shed its cloak. Trees outside the window are empty. A river of sleep has crept into their branches. An unsettled sense surrounds what is otherwise quiet. Water runs through local pipes. Mechanisms begin to twirl and tumble. I watch and wait. A sphinx quietly smokes a pipe as fates are tossed as haphazardly as a lit match. And this one I like. I open the book with this one, and it's called Venus Passing for a Moment in Front of the Sun. Venus passing for a moment in front of the sun, glare of twilight, bright white cloud covering radiant tips, rose and golden hued as the quiet passing of an orb across the face of eternity. A firestorm exploding as the chrysalis of afternoon migrates towards the bloody wings of an emerging evening. A dancer shaking arms, legs, belly, majestic while music rolls as waves of light or water falling, capturing moments while we forget the cool, sweet scent of time evaporating. All desires, disappointments, passing in an instant, in an otherwise unruly and disinterested universe. Thank you.
John Winnell, the ills of the world have now been cured after John's set. And I think you should do a poem about the New York City subway system and use terms like befouled stench. I think that would work. Yeah, utter disgust, befouled stench. So that'll about do it. And next week, we're mimicking the rock and wrestling connection. Next week, more poetry and wrestling with wrestler playwright Jason Calabrese, and he has a play called We Don't Play Fight coming to New York City in the fall, and I'm going to be involved with that. And Pulitzer-nominated poet William S. Peters, poet Eula N. Yilmaz, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and young teen poet Brianna Malone. So more wrestling meets poetry. This could be a trend next Sunday as well. So just want to wish everybody happy holidays out there, whether it's Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, whatever the case may be, atheist, whatever. Happy holidays, and any final message, guys, before we wrap this up?
Be good to each other.
Be good to each other, right? And stop killing each other on Facebook like I've done much too much of over the years.
No more.
That's right. That's my resolution for 2019. Stop fighting with people on Facebook.
Not worth it.
I gave up raw.
As Mel Brooks said, eat a nectarine. It's the best fruit ever made.
That's right. My resolution for 2018 was not to watch Monday Night Raw because I sacrificed every Monday of my life for 30 years, and I actually fulfilled that. I
say go back to watching Raw and stop arguing on Facebook.
That's right.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Trade?
Yeah, no, because basically 19 out of 20 times nobody budges anyway. It's just pointless. I've lost.
Remember how boisterous I was before the election, as far as like with Trump and everything. Once it was over and I saw how crazy people got, I was like, I'm out. I just stopped completely. I was just, I couldn't deal with it. I'll keep my thoughts in my head.
That's the best place for them.
I've lost first cousins over
That's
this.
crazy.
First cousins.
Huh.
So there's really no positive side to it.
That would be a good resolution for a lot of people.
Yeah, stay off of Facebook.
Facebook's good for promotion, but
For that.
politics, it doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work for politics.
Stay away from
I'm
politics.
not going to convince you of my
course
ideas, and we may understand each other, but most likely we're going to argue.
And what does it matter in the end
It
anyway?
doesn't, because there's no ending. There's no ending. We're not gonna change it.
everybody's right in their own way. I mean, why not? Right?
and the truth is usually somewhere in the middle anyway.
Yeah.
But one positive side of it, and then we'll wrap it up. I'm a liberal. My Republican friends, we've stuck together, a lot of us, in spite of it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So it's a true friendship when you can get past all of that.
Well, of course.
I mean, think about it. You're sitting down to dinner. What does it really matter what Trump thinks, what
Of course.
Obama thinks? At that moment, what
You're
does it
happy
really
you
matter?
have-
You're in your home, like none of these people are doing anything that can really change anything anyway. They're all like
That's
puppets,
That's right. You're fortunate to have the food and the
Yeah.
comfort.
When it starts affecting like my dinner table, I'm gonna get pissed.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
That's-
politicians can affect your taxes and
Yeah,
your,
They
can filter
They have.
down to
They
you.
definitely have.
Yeah.
To a point, I mean, but
Anyway, everybody get along.
It's all good. God bless us, everyone.
that's right.
Each and every one
great,
of us.
The great Charles Dickens.
Yes.
It always the genius that Charles Dickens was.
At the end of the day, we'll all be right where he is.
That's right.
So
On that
live
happy
it up,
note.
Live it up.
Hey, Dickens lived a good,
All right, folks. So we'll be back next week with more wrestling and poetry, which may be
And
the
sad
only show in the
stories.
world that does this. All right, folks. Take care. Happy holidays.
Never know, and I'm just this lonely man, alone on the river with my heart in my hand. The conversation, they're all dead. The lines cut off inside my head. I left here like a broken man with no idea of where I stand. Oh, my mind clear. Oh, I shed all of my tears. Oh, now baby, I was just waiting here while you moved on. Now what remains of this tattered soul is something I've always wanted to know. This whole sense of security, this newfound freedom you kept from me. The sound of all your loaded guns, this heartbreak war has just begun. The sound of all your loaded guns, this broken man has already won. Oh, my mind clears. Oh,